But what if I told you that every painting that you have admired, every painting that you have bookmarked, you have saved, probably starts with this? Today, I want to show you how some of the most repetitive and boring looking marks all started off being just all about play and what it looks like when we switch it and change it into progress. Because purposeful play leads to control, confidence, and also your ability to really translate your playful strokes into purposeful paintings. And sometimes that's the part that we skip because we just want to jump straight into the final piece. At some point, you stop asking yourself, am I doing this right? Instead, you're wondering, how do I want this to feel? And that's why the retreats that I create focus so much more on building that one skill, that 20% that's going to give you the 80%. And to me, brushwork and how you actually learn to focus on mastering the way your brush works, not buying another good brush, so that you get the space to really explore the marks that you can make, repeat them and grow through them, and then bloom in your own rhythm. There is no better time to finally take the time to sit down and get to know your tools. Or maybe you haven't taken out your brush in a while and it's time to just take it out and play in a more purposeful manner. Now I'm going to be hosting a retreat that is happening in the next couple of days, and I would love for you to join us as we focus more on play and turn it into paintings. And if you're keen to find out how your stage translates and looks like throughout your practice where you are working with your brush, and just so you know, brushwork is not just a stage 1 skill. You can actually hone and get better with your skills, and by the time you hit stage 5, which is our wizard stage, the marks that you are making is expressive, it's playful, and it communicates movement so that you're better able to express yourself in your own way. Check the description for more, and I can't wait to paint together with you. At first glance, these marks don't look like much. They are repetitive, they are really simple, and maybe even look and feel a little boring. But here is where the real work begins. These strokes aren't about making something beautiful. In fact, they're just about learning to build trust between your hand and the brush, between your eyes and the page. Now, every time I press down, I lift, drag, or flick, I am kind of learning how I am moving and holding the brush. I'm also carving out space for intuition to grow. And I'm also watching to see how water behaves, how pressure changes a stroke, and how muscle memory slowly becomes muscle confidence. By understanding the way you're holding and moving with your brush, you are also respecting the process of really leading into that holding and using a brush is going to be far different from how you use and hold a pen. In fact, this is the part we tend to skip because we are chasing the final outcome flower before our hands have learned how to move. And honestly, the marks that you practice in silence, these are the ones that are going to shape everything you create later. The best part is that you don't need a perfect flower at this stage to feel proud. You just need a lot of willingness to play and curiosity to observe. This here is a class that I've done with Brush Movement Collective where we are just making marks on a paper. Now, while it looks very effortless and easy, we are actually playing with a variety of expressive marks based on the brush that we have chosen. Now, once your hand knows the rhythm of how pressure and lifting works with your brush, this is where something magical happens. Your marks feel a lot bolder and play becomes a lot more personal. This is where we are going to stop copying and you're going to start responding. Responding to what you actually see and observe what's on your mind to try and translate it on paper. Your stroke not only becomes a mark, but it becomes more like a petal. And a dot maybe could be the center or even a flower bud. This is where we start to follow and recognize some of the different parts that we see in nature, and we follow our curiosity, and it becomes less about a step-by-step tutorial. In fact, with this mark making ditzy class, I asked artists to experiment without rules, and this is because I didn't want the final painting to matter. It's more about the process, how the brush is moving, its interaction with the surface, the water, and the paint. Which lines feel confident and joyful, and which shapes make you pause. What movement feels a lot like you, and which part of your arm or body you are using to express that movement. In these moments, play isn't so much about messing around anymore. It's really about experimentation, research, and language. You are discovering how these brushstrokes speak to you. Now let's begin to gather all the pieces together, from those drills that we have done, from the marks that we have made, and all of that coming together, stepping into a new kind of play where we are putting together some structure. Now, wildflowers are perfect for this. They are organic, they are asymmetrical, and they are free. And one of the things that you get to decide is understanding what brush mark is going to create the petals. How does this flower look balanced depending on what marks I am putting together on the paper? At this stage, I am still not painting with a plan. I'm more painting with presence. I'm still letting the brush decide and guided by everything, absorbed through play. These flowers are not forced. In fact, they are just flowing through my brush because of the muscle memory that I had built before. And this is all based off the play where I got playful, curious, and experimented with the different shapes and how they translated into petals. Now, it's easy for us to think that play can feel like boring drills or even messy marks, but instead, you are going to change your perspective and shift between play and make it into progress when you go deeper into it. Now let's see how play looks like when it becomes even more purposeful at our higher stages of the artist's passage. In this painting, we are watching ourselves create a full composition because we finally arrive at a stage where we start planning the way we want our marks to go on the paper. Even though we see this as a real painting where we get to frame up, it's important to think that this has entirely been built from play. Every flower in this piece is made up of practice strokes. Every grouping draws intuition where we had earned through loose exploration. Composition isn't about following rules. It's about responding to negative space, to color, to relationships between elements, and what the painting is asking for next. And when your practice has been rooted in play, you are free to respond with a lot of clarity and confidence instead of fear and perfectionism. And that's what I want for you, to see that your play is not wasted. Not one petal, not one leaf, not one mark. They are not messy pages. In fact, all of your play was all part of you becoming. Honestly, this issue that we have where we have been told that we need to make our paintings purposeful and meaningful even from the beginning, and skipping this important step of play really came from the time that we were young. When we were young, we were told that, play is just things that you do during your free time. And really, you don't really learn much from play. But after homeschooling my 3 kids under 7, having seen them do problem solving, developing language, and also understanding the social complexities of play where they need to learn to negotiate, give and take, and even think about their own boundaries, I feel like play is really an underrated source that we need to add to our practice. Now, speaking of all the brushes that you own, I think it's also important to take a step back and review one of the videos that I recently did about how you don't need more brushes or expensive supplies to really give you results or give you the reason to finally play. In fact, what you need is to just sit time, spend time, and nurture that well of yours where it's just okay giving yourself permission to do the thing that might not look meaningful or purposeful in an attempt to grow your practice. And this is exactly why I have created our Paint and Petal retreat. Now, you have seen this composition kind of grow in front of you in today's video, and these are some of the mini classes that I am going to be putting out for free in an online retreat. And prior to that, I understand that all of this is also application, which is why I'm putting out a workshop on brush mastery so that you actually get to not only see how the flowers become, but also understand the power of your brush and how your brush strokes are really going to be that one thing that will translate and transcend through the stages of your artist passage. Now, if you have no idea what the artist passage is, I would love for you to take the quiz. This is a 5-stage framework that I have developed with my Brush Movement Collective members to help them to identify what stage they are in their own journey so that it helps them to map out milestones and skills to focus on. This reduces the amount of time that you compare yourself to others, and it also allows you the freedom to work within your stage. Now, I would love for you to also join us in our free retreat. And if you are in stages that are slightly higher than stage 1 and 2, thinking that brushwork is really just for beginners, I want to use that retreat as an opportunity to showcase to you some of the skills that stage 5 artists can also benefit from. So I would love for you to come and join our awesome party. Now, in seriousness, just sit down and reflect on your practice. Think about all the different ways where when you did not overthink and you just allowed yourself to do the marks and allowed yourself to let your brush run wild, and how often those were the times that you got the peace, the joy, and the calm that you really wanted when you were painting. So with that, this means that you should give yourself permission to play more and also see that within the process, we don't always have to chase something meaningful in order for us to feel progress. I can't wait to see you at the retreat.